there was a post by the game itself or the game devs on their page, Ill Met by Moonlight, a Bond Across Time. I'm not going to, of course, to read through it all because it's let's say, a longer post, but it is again something where the game devs are trying to, let's say, give you more background information about the game without making it an info dump. They are creating small stories, and within those stories, they are introducing either some people or something that's going on or some tech or how things work. I think it says a lot about the impact of the time dilation that the travelers will experience on their personal lives. Just as well, seeing as I'm not making it back, nobody would mourn her, nobody would raise a glass. They'd always assume she'd be back in a year, a decade, a generation. Everyone who knew her would grow old and die in the assumption that she'd return one day. So imagine from the person's perspective who's traveling, the traveler's perspective, knowing that you don't know when you come back, and you don't even know if the people you knew will be still alive and if what you left behind will be still there. I think that must be a weird feeling. On one hand, it's traveling across the universe and exploring and getting to see a lot of new stuff. But on the other hand, you have basically nothing that you can be attached to aside probably from the ship that you are traveling on, because everything else that you leave behind, it will just, let's say, age differently than you. And I don't know if I could live like that, to be honest. It's just kind of a weird feeling. And that's something which I like on this game, because we are used to, like, from the sci-fi games or even from like sci-fi movies and TV shows, etc. What we are used to is most of the time you are seeing something where the people are traveling, they are basically moving, let's say, in quick jumps, and they don't really experience any like time discrepancy between the people on board of that ship and then the other people who are left behind on the planets. And when they come back, the people have barely aged or haven't aged at all, and they are the same age as the people who were on board of the ship. So there is really no difference. And I think this is the interesting bit on this game, that this will be a game which really plays around with this time dilation and with the effects that it will have on the people and also on the planets. That's what's unique for me here. I think that's something where, for the sake of the convenience for the reader or the viewer or the gamer, the creators of these kind of sci-fis, the, let's say, usual ones, they don't want to go really into these details because they don't want to play around with the effects and they don't want to like think about in a, let's say, longer term. You have a certain set of the world and of the universe, and that is maybe aging just a few years while you are reading the book or playing the game. And in this game, or if you are really like being very realistic and are playing with the time dilation, then you would have to do really huge time jumps. And I think that's very challenging for any writer to do. So that's why I appreciate it even more to see it in this game. I'm really curious to see what it will be like directly in the game then. So yeah, that is from the page which they have posted. And then let me just quickly go back to the vid maybe. There was a gameplay reveal stream that's already quite some time ago, I think 1.5 months ago, and they have just now released like a short vid. It has like less than 12 minutes, as you can see, which is just showing a couple of highlights, and I think with some interesting information.
One of those things that they explained to me early on, that you have these disparate worlds all spread out, and they all have different levels of technology, sometimes, extremely far apart, but they don't necessarily help each other. It's not like there's one humanity and everybody is moving towards a singular bright future. It's very competitive. environment.
I think that's the important
like
bit.
The new humans that are just off the ark, that just arrived, they're put on backwater worlds, and they have to go scavenge other technology to bootstrap themselves into this new society. Which is pretty cool.
I think that was the important bit here. It will be very competitive. That means for me that whenever you decide to go somewhere to a specific world and gather whatever you can there will be probably other groups of people. And I don't want to say aliens, because technically there are no aliens. Everybody has evolved from humans. But you might encounter other, let's say, factions there. And I think this will be also very interesting how you deal with them. They are talking about like more details from the game. So let me play maybe a little bit more and then a couple of segments, and then maybe chat a little bit more about it.
Who are we going to be playing? Who was your inspiration, or what was your inspiration for June? Was it based on someone or something in particular, or do you guys have, what is your vision for this character?
It's kind of a complicated question, because June has to have a personality. You know, there's a lot of acting that goes into all those scenes, but at the same time, June has to be your character. The choices you make kind of help define who June is as a person. Where did June come from? I don't want to say this because all my writers would murder me, but like, you know, Indiana Jones times Paul Mahdi, you know, Paul Atreides, because June has the serious task of, you know, leading their world, but they're also a fun person, as you can see in the clips there, and they're also going on adventures. So it's kind of that combination.
And he or she has an incredible backstory that we will reveal at some time. And Tim helped us create that story too, that we'll share once the time comes.
With this trailer, we're seeing all sorts of new things. We're seeing enemy types, we're seeing new environments, we're seeing, most importantly, we're seeing how the player interacts with them. What approach are you guys taking with this game? What's going to be, not necessarily the minute-to-minute gameplay, but what's going to be our more overarching style of gameplay?
We're kind of doing what we know best, which is, while you do go on missions, and those missions have lots of optional areas that you'll be able to explore, you can decide how you want to explore the missions, like which ones you want to go on first, and you know, how you're going to explore them. And then there might be things that you do on your home world that unlock stuff on missions that you wouldn't normally be able to do. Yeah, so it's very much similar to Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, or a Mass Effect, or a Dragon Age Origins. That's the model that we have gone with.
I'm not just here to look pretty.
Okay, have you noticed the small pause when he says like Dragon Age Origins? He definitely doesn't want to be probably associated with the latest game that BioWare has put out, which is Failguard. So I did have a good laugh on that one, to be honest. But there was some interesting stuff, which, as I understand, okay, we will have a character that will be, we will be able to create, because they said he or she. So we will have a protagonist that we can create. So there will be definitely a character creator, as I understood, where you can pick your character. And then from what they said, it will be something similar to Shepard. I'm still having this feeling, because in a certain sense, Shepard was, let's say, a predefined character in certain characteristics, but then also you did shape the personality a little bit with how you responded and how you interacted with whom, and if you even interacted with some of the people or not. So I think it will be something similar, which is, again, just giving me, again, heavy Mass Effect vibes. And also the other bit, which was very interesting for me, was that they mentioned that you might unlock something on your homeworld that you would normally not have in the missions where you are going to. So I think it will have a big replayability, the game, depending on what choices you do at what time. And what kind of technology you gather and how you are going to use it. They mentioned it already before, like in what way you are going to use it, whether you develop this or that. So I think this game is going to have a huge replayability, because there will be so many options that you can do from, at least like from the perspective of how you deal with the technology, that you will have different impacts on your homeworld and also probably on yourself. Let me go a little bit to the discussion here. Time Dilation was a big part of Pornell's Co-Dominion books. That's coming from John. Yeah, that's why I'm saying there are some authors who do write it and who are using it. But if you consider it like on a large scale, the vast majority of whether it's games or books or TV or other media, usually then they don't really want to go there and they don't really want to like deal with this. I mean, just take the latest example, what's so super marketed now and what's really like one of the best sci-fis lately in the past few years, Dune. Again, you don't see that effects of any time dilation there, not really that much. And it's mainly like focused on the here and now. That's exactly the point. Like in the majority of the media, you see these types of sci-fi stories rather than stories that deal with the time dilation. In general, it's very Mass Effect-y, I would say. I do not wonder, because you have technically people working here on that game that were working originally on the Mass Effect game. So, of course, the resemblance will be here. But I'm definitely looking forward to it, to be honest. I really want to play the game when it comes out and see for myself if it's true, for example, what I've mentioned with this replayability. And I do have, let's say, some hope that it will be better than anything that Zombieware currently is about to put out.